My top 5 on this list at number 5 is Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. So this guy sat on the bench for 3 years in Baton Rouge, and he finally had his chance to start this past year, and he really showed that, he had flashes of brilliance as a backup, and he was really good as a starter this past year. The 5th most passing yards in the nation with over 4,000. 7th in big-time throws with 26 big-time throws as well. Now, Garrett Nussmeier, still a little bit of a gunslinger right now. He had 18 turnover-worthy plays. That was in the bottom 20 in college football. Also does not add anything as a rusher, only 93 rushing yards this past year. But he's a tough quarterback. He's fearless in the pocket. He's capable of making almost any throw on the field as well. Again, he's a little bit of a gunslinger right now. And I've seen some comparisons to Tony Romo out there that I kind of like. But I still think Garrett Nussmeier, listen, he's one of the top quarterbacks to know for next year's draft, and I think he's one of the top quarterbacks in college football right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He's certainly one of the top, and I would have him at 4 or 5 here as well. Number 5, I think, is a good placement for him. And you mentioned it, fearless when it comes to trying to make any throw on the field. Sometimes a little bit too fearless. You mentioned a gunslinger, the turnover-worthy plays. And I think the other thing that gets me with Nussmeier is once you get him beyond that first read and once things start to get late in the play and he has to improvise, there's just not a whole lot of that. There's not a ton of mobility. He's a classic pocket quarterback who needs to release the football in 3 seconds or less to really have success, right? You're not going to get a whole lot of improv like you used to with Jaden Daniels. But when you talk about the load that was thrown at him last year, 2nd most pass attempts in the country behind Kyle McCord, LSU maybe asked him to do a little bit too much, and he was still really successful when you look at what he could do on that offense without much of a running game, without their defense helping him really the last 2 years. That's been the case for LSU. So a lot of it's going to be supporting cast. 4 of his starting offensive linemen were taken in the NFL draft, so I do worry a little bit about pass protection here. But as far as Nussmeier goes, got an NFL arm. You can see NFL anticipation at times from the pocket, especially when he really locks in and wants to throw balls into those tight windows, which is pretty often. So, look, Nussmeier's got a high ceiling. He can put up huge numbers again this year. The question to me more so than him is about his supporting cast. It's going to be about this offensive line, some new receivers, Barryon Brown, Nick Anderson, guys like that LSU's bringing in. They lost Mason Taylor at tight end, who's a really valuable piece, obviously. So I just think when you look at Nussmeier, and there's even a couple other guys on this list we're going to talk about the same way the next couple. It's what is around him, how much can they support him, because he's not going to be one of these dynamic athletes who's going to carry you like Jaden Daniels used to when things break down. When things break down, life gets a lot harder for him, right? And I love the way he throws through the pocket. I love the way his process. You could even see times, you mentioned 3 years as a backup, played sparingly, but you saw his process get a little bit better each year, right? So I think he's always going to have that gunslinger mentality. I think he kind of has to. That's the thing that could make him special, but I do worry a little bit about what's around him. LSU's gotten a lot of transfers in there this year, but they have to gel pretty quickly because I believe that they have a tough of course they have a tough first game. They have to go to Clemson week 1.
Oh, that's a brutal first game.
I mean, they have with basically
think about that. That offensive line against that defense
with a brand new offense around them. They got to go to Clemson week 1. That's right. That's going to be arguably the biggest game of week 1 or one of them, other than Ohio State, Texas.
When we do that preview, because we always do the matchup to watch on each side of the ball, is absolutely can LSU's offensive line survive against Clemson's defense? Yeah. That might be the best D-line in the country, and that's the brand new offensive line going against that D-line.
And if he finds a way to go in there and win that game, all of a sudden the Garrett Nussmeier hype is going to be off the rails. So look, that's one of a few games in we got a stacked week 1 this year, don't we? That's one of a few games in week 1 that I can't wait to watch. But no, Nussmeier, certainly the talent's all there, especially from the pocket. Just got to reel it in sometimes a little bit more, and hopefully LSU supporting cast can help him out.
I will say the offensive line is a major question mark, probably the biggest question mark for LSU going into next year, losing all those talented guys to the NFL draft, including Will Campbell, the number 4 overall pick. The receiving core I still think is really good, right? You got Aaron Anderson coming back for another year. You mentioned Barryon Brown. You mentioned Nick Anderson as well. You also have Trey'Dez Green, who was the top tight end coming out of high school last year and showed some really encouraging signs as a true freshman. So he's now your tight end as a true sophomore as well. So I think the receiving core, Caden Durham going to sophomore year as well, very talented running back. I think the supporting cast in terms of skill position players is really good. The offensive line is a big question right now. And I think, listen, Garrett is a tough quarterback in the pocket. He's capable of making throws under pressure, but you don't want him under pressure all the time as well. So Garrett Nussmeier, number 5 on this list. Hey, thanks for watching another episode of the PFF College Football Show. Please make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.
Also, subscribe to PFF Plus at subscribe.pff.com for all of the same data and grades that we use in our show, plus fantasy tools, betting tools, and our mock draft simulator.